oma maye what really transpired and investigations oma ye nyina regards to flight and I say helicopter no crash we're going to go on Zoom and then we'll have Dr. Dominic Ando or expert when it comes to aviation or commercial aviation when it comes to when meaning say papa wa boy juma bebre wa juma bebre akusua di bebre when it comes to liability when it comes to air transport aircraft financing and trading or saying juma bebre afa air operating license aviation insurance environmental and also airport regulation just say why ejuma ni bebre. So we're going to have a whole discussion with him now for go through the report now for no akumu makuma no wa cheche yemu timemufo yanom na asebio yente nyama ni bebre na ase no ese obi emayen emu enchechemu yie pa. So that is what we're going to do ene anope so that yin na ye beti ase any questions bia ye pese e bi se bia no ye betumi aye ni nyina ene ewo ye Kessben match so nti se ora Dominic Dr. Dominic Ando owo Zoom amemo achen ema akwaba eba Kessben match so well, me sure say Obe Johnny is here, so ask him when he will join us on the oh, okay. But as a pass, yeah, friend, wanya abotre na uni babedi and commonia share the echo and the air beginner. So clearly, and Captain Fujo, a member of the committee, a day a year in report on to media for us to understand what is really happening. And then again, a maximum for so NTS the echo and the air beginner. But quick one, share a report now. It was giving us just the update of what really transpired, talking about the Black Wednesday, the Faithful Wednesday of 6th of August 2025, where the Z-9 was scheduled to have a saying obe 2 Efi Accra, Ebesia call a Obuase, Ekunya crash ewo Dampai Forest Reserve of Anochi Chrome Brofuyedu ewo Adanse Akrofum district in the Ashanti region, and all the 3 crew nina yenim sebi omo aye nyamedia sisia. Now the investigations within the introduction again omo de maye tells us say omo aye investigations all right, and then critically they were able to gather some institutions to really perform that investigation now Ghana Air Force flying orders, air staff instruction, Annex 13 of the ICU convention, and then international civil aviation, and the use in that to do that. Again, Oshe introduction of the minor, they were telling us that they're going to give us, and I like the word that they use, factual information, and I feel so analysis conclusion, and then the findings that is going to happen after report now So clearly these were the areas are now looking at, and I feel so share composition of the board now Jumana national security was part, Ghana Armed Forces was part, Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, and I feel so USA Air Force staff. Now let me stay here and then let me ask Doctor, quick one. Do you believe that the composition of the board now your day investigation is enough? Would you have seen or Pepper say other investigation body and answer institution be able to make one, or this one was okay?
Okay, your name sir, accident is still aviation here. A civil aviation, Ghana Civil Aviation Authority for the air regulators. But I see aircraft accident and incident investigation bureau. Any accident saw accident in civilian ones. The way they see military. Military never set up in court for normal training. However, helicopter near who said military for one team. Not civilians account. And it's not who say or the AIB, which is an Aircraft Incident and Accident Investigation Bureau, count. And to both the military side is taken care of, and a civilian side, AIB no bear to make sure civilian side is also represented. And yes, okay for now, as a civilian military now, maybe count. So military one among civilian side different between one. Kasem one we say, and you military one on year. And an aircraft, and that's civilian staff. To move Kase, ultimate Kase, you need to know one and there were civilians on board. The world best practice in the Europe now, military, you article. That's a civilians come one, only investigation now, only civilian investigators, they come. Now, AI represented that interest here. AI didn't pay me. A bomb here was civilians to say, come on, a bit me a bomb here, near Koffer by.
Okay, so clearly the composition is in order.
Aye, composition.
Okay. All right. So then let's move on from there. So then we'll come back to a more preliminary investigation team, no, or more reporter, or more at the more catcher say, or more hande, or more briefing, by the preliminary investigation team, was done on 26th of August 2025, and then they handed over a investigation team, report, and then the flight recorder, the FDR, the CVR, and some personal effects of the passengers, and then the visit to the incident site from 28th August to 29th of August 2025. But I want to stay here again. Mr. Dog. Clearly, if investigations occur so, and then we see in their methodology of investigation, they say that they visited the accident site from 28th to 29th. That is 2 days. 2 days per Is it enough for us to say that accident see our site? We use just 2 days to really visit the site and come up with an extensive report?
Okay, me pacho to answer that question, me jabaku echimanungofa.
Okay.
Composition of among the board investigation. Chinese will in from by Bowman Kawu. Chinese when the Pause aircraft and helicopter in China on the mine.
Yeah.
It initially get the black box for China for you. And on cast for the happen why.
Yeah.
It means in capture China there and the first slide now show you.
Yeah, the first slide didn't show them, but I think subsequent slides show that Ghana for no mum any two and among a core China, I think in September. To really take the but I Oman show so baha. I think say report to me who so you see you money a call flight maybe a year flight manufacturers on the air core.
But obviously slide now when I am cancer manufacturers were involved in which is the slide one.
No, slide one, no, the composition of the board, no. We only had the US Air Force staff, which was represented, but the Chinese was not represented here.
Okay, all right. And then they come on, so let me try and be higher for financial.
Okay. So
right.
Now,
After 2 days, I'm a lot of investigations and materials, no one performing videos. And before time helicopter and the parts beyond the Ponyada. And see a lot of evidence now, hardcore evidence, no black box, Ashanti, Minister, Bob, by parts of the year. Eyewitness accounts near them, maybe for Jomin to do now. John call site 2 days, no dear. No more send me a new man call, maybe a tito years and for cool, Adina, sanity. Rebecca said 2 days, maybe a star. Now, so committee call on APD son of home. Accident site there. Ebu abe will depend on the magnitude of the accident. An accident site there. Ebu abe 1 month ago, I'm not going to be still a shiny market in the TBO. Generally, it's many days. So we call on who said 2 days in any fine. But accident site there, it's me calling off. We ain't me call PS, Ebu going to me call 1 month, 2 months, next day. And course in APR, and then I'll go be your chance for now the China probably until Oboko one say among women 2 days APR, they were satisfied with it. But accident sites there is no limit on the number of days. There's no limit on the number of days. Okay. And some
okay. All right. And so clearly, they are in order, to use that. So again, now they were looking at the human factors and operational information, and then they were looking at medical and psychological records of the flight crew who were, examined. And then interviews were also conducted with pilots, engineers, and superiors to assess, say, enema course wo before sa flight ne ba betuo anase nipa na mu na se bi omu to flight no omu hu etibia etise and all that. I mean, clearly if they go through this particular process where they want to deal with the human I mean the human factors, I mean considering omu ma betu flight na, it's also in order, right?
Because nipa aircraft so we say na dwumi da na wa bre ni na nsama say ubisa the report ni mu I mean somewhere down the report you see say on the 3rd 4th na saturday adwuma on the 5th no sense on the 6th on the 2 point on the 5th on adwuma on the 5th no home and on the 6th on 2 point GNT can say no my break because a day before your mom can say and the Yabaka said, "Oh, we need that home, I'm not doing that, I'm not break." Or hear reports and send a car say 3rd 4th for me, 5th, your man for me 6th, and then I'm going to be
okay, so clearly, I share a report and as well. I'm to me my history of a previous flighter, a crew, no, a year so far, and then they stated exactly on the 5th of August, the crew, omo edge oma home. Clearly, it corresponds to what you're saying. What it means is that 24 hours crowd here now oma home nye obre in a womb for us to say ebiana nipa no and our crew and our captain or bre ain't na ASNM we na say. So clearly, these are the dates, events are on by 2nd August. Tak ready to Accra, Nipa, almost 2 flights, almost sent to on the 3rd of August, Accra, Cape Coast, Accra, and Omoba, Accra, Salman, Accra. So it means that from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, almost 2, your friend is saying, it will be back on flight, and as a helicopter, omu ye juma, their normal juma, na omu again, the accident report, tells you that, the crew, clearly, had, I mean, almost everything done, just as they were saying. So the flight was scheduled to depart from Accra 8 a.m. Estimated time, to get to Obuasi was 50 minutes. Sir, and a report, catch when it comes to the said fateful day, what I would call it the Black Wednesday on the 6th of August, now okay. Now they say, Captain, a delay flight, due to adverse weather in Accra, Kumasi, and Obuasi. Now, me per se, yenoma yeshe TV, yenoma yetu radio so yenye suti ma ahanepa. Captain a delay flight because or say na weather enye papasa enunti ewo Accra, Kumasi, and Obuasi. Now, these towns or these cities will appear again. Until I say you're careful, we study with a dean a Bronam Bueni and Accra, Kumasi, and Afeso Obuasi. Now, Doc, my maybe say Captain, am I yan in TSA? Obey delay flight, which was supposed to leave at 8 a.m. because of adverse weather problems. Accra, Kumasi, and Obuasi, they were specific. So what it tells me, maybe I'm wrong, is that the route from Accra, Kumasi to Obuasi, not just a riemu enye papa. Is that what you mean?
Sir, no, Patrick said a riemu enye papa. Ohun don't mean. The thing said aircraft be distance so ohun riemu onko. It's as ohun. There one say about planes like a Sierra, Omufa clouds, no clouds, no top, no fly. Helicopter there, or Sihan. And Jawasihan, this a voice, no woman for certain distance. Internet told the output Masia. Africa was the delay flight. Then here, or women, and our passionate guys were delay flight. They have a certain meter size, so women and Sanwa. And this visual flight route, rule is say here, 1,200 meters, a member. 1,000 meters, a member. And the pilots, a better sign, who say, where's to do Accra, where they catch them, or who will Kumasi, or who will Boasi. Now, so report, no matter said, you are going to do. Who to find between Accra and Boasi, no dear. na only data as to say or nam kan so hano ebi amedu mankesi na bonus too much ebi ameben dance go from bonus pa and the name hosa na so akra dey say whether me baby okọ obo aso say whether me kumasi say whether me now in between no I know there or nam kan so from the information available to you on the other slides but no can say oh so slide you say oh we do share yakwa so hwɛ sɛ yɛm ti bi atesen betimi akɔ ne hu mani bi a metwɛn kakra adwɛ sɛ yɛm ti bi a ɛbɛda hɔ asan na akɔ nso tɛsi December pa so ta go kuma asen ka mali December mo hamatan ba na bɔ tɛsi a o fa o ti play no high school yɛm nyanti yɛntwɛn kakra 30 minutes 1 hour ɔhwɛ na too much a bɛka so bi a this year twɛn flight no sign because o hu ne bi a on risky mama the captain who in India around it in the road was young train we mean and young train there now on the present day and in idea dance yourself August you know what I mean you should boys degree
okay all right you better but a holding bill then finally a flight you know it take off exactly 9:12 14 a.m. and 14 seconds, right? I mean 9:12 14 seconds a.m. and a flight, you know, it take off. Despite the fact that now a captain no akatre say a wimu enshada nyen into be train kakra no. Finally from 8 o'clock no or to 9. What it means is that or to in an hour's time, hoping say a kwano so nyina no aye okay. But just as you said, dog, I mean then it means that or no started so be 2 from 9 no. What it meant for us is that then Accra, Kumasi, or Boise per the checks, you know, na emu da hawk Accra, but just that in between, you know, and yen to me entry. But we'll come back to that one. And I say throughout the flight, Muma back. I mean, there's something that I really want. I say throughout the flight, the altitude fluctuated and changed to avoid low clouds. Dog, my name is the same way. We're two F Accra or Konenim. We're 2:09 in an hour's time, 8 o'clock necessary to and 2:09. All corner now throughout the flight, you know, I say altitude fluctuated and changed to avoid low cloud. What does it mean?
Okay, Musa because helicopter there on too far mumu koso. Send the Ethiopian answer it shows there. On the mumu nasa. And all possible. Musa okwa ontimi nkotin say esan say west na him all cotton say na Musa boni na so abafom no afabo na se no okọ osan kwa Musa e boys na him abafom wetimi afa bonase and na omunkum na se wetimi akọ san papa hye nti ontimi nkotin because na nim da ho mo ni ni na say uma abafom wetimi ahwe na nim no akọ uma abafom wetimi hwe na nim ema okọ na okọ froba from boss over from a boss will now far from so will maybe you are looking at it generally across the ahura na ya kan wasem say o akra wada na akra kuma se se ye kakra obo se se ye kakra betin aba now so in between akra na obo as machine na hwi ni me bomb ko say oh e wom say obo as ye na so be on media e book say woni na ni musa and now ordinary experience and then your machine will be to na na just a cost no about from Gaka. Send a bear about body a bomb. And it's a which you can put to his workman. So you put no to more from now. Our sound is an airport to not to more from San and a helicopter no so here. Of course, I almost say a voice in no about for. Send a with Miyako.
Dog, my minister said before you better call the other ones, you know. Ayana and maybe say here captains no muchi helicopters you know and I say be a flight you know do they within that space of time take a decision to say listen yes I'm call you back because the me who ha crisis here no enye papa again a hono in between no cry no we couldn't even determine how it is into no keep take a decision say listen yes I'm call back to Accra maybe I use another way out and
oh, it's even be. So pilot make one over than here. No, if you're now in land, you're done. You're team be a Hamatan, a passion, and Africa working. On to me, Sitamalia, not direct about the local is to It's as a passengers on board and come here. And is a human, no open on a piano. Obetumi asan ba Accra, and I said the nearest airport. It doesn't necessarily have to be say Otufi Accra and Accra. Nearest airport, say Takra na Beku, say nearest school park be na helicopter. School park be na how train about now obetumi land the agina. So what aviation here, and we see it use all come over. Want to be open school park now.
Yeah.
Sanity. Who now a pursue challenge now say 18 summer park. Open baby no agina. Because the part of it is society, and so you only had sign and I've seen them and transfer betting at
Okay, all right. So the main issues has to do with the weather and then the machine in itself make a flight, So it's important we deal more with the weather issues and all. Now, I said there was no information on the weather along the flight route available to the pilot. The person chairman say enana dog say na o Canada in between no na information bia eni honom sa regards to weather because in amidi kankan no Accra Kumasi Obuasi was where na omutumi determine say weather no eni ni enye but in between to say brofi edru honom ekon ene environment ni nyina no yentumi enkyere anase yeni akade e wo honom a logistics e wo honom ebetimi a kyere ye say saa kwan no so nyina no ebo esi wo ho anase weda no emu enye nti no esese ebi amamu nkokra anase montwen anase yinyusu by road anase bibi ho ne de we fail to understand say there was no information along that side. And then again almost say omone witnesses common witnesses omo brofi do no kire say na poor visibility na munukun na si pa yie pa ntino na fog no so edoso and afeso insuo eso etoto egugu ewo brofi do ene ne environment now so indeed clearly na say weather nyina no enye papa. Again, almost say the kind of rapid changes in environment conditions over the terrain can result in the turbulence, downdraft, and other phenomena. Now, how na meba Dr. Suono say omo catch say rapid changes in environmental conditions. That terrain na my turbulence. Omo bo bibi no downdraft. Obroni say downdraft yen timemufo ne yen ma yeti osisi ano se ye bo downdraft na yen ti ase no enye den e de ne downdraft.
Okay, mame fa Kessben mo station mo building enye say before and from abi fi Tesano from Tesano papa yes side wa chimo e bo ehia mo before mo building no be tin from ana bo hia no sana from ana Asia the one say a man so let me have the ball so akọ e from an bush am board in sao na telephone ona na man go so aircraft be a be fa sa from so e be twina koso e friend updraft te be twina koso be ball ko bi because from an the above the phone e man so
that's from an no dey
na o from say Asia before I said from a bush before the day.
Okay.
The bush before now, a man is let's not have the policy. It is after moving now the blink of our a better officer, a friend updraft. And now building the left side, Ghana Telecom Airport said to all you. Everyone said from under platform. I'm on the left from under platform. Now your pilots now on the left side, say it on the right side, here. From another I'm from another support, a better platform. It's a buffer. Play now, or a fast outside, never trouble. So far, we have to fire some from under one man from under class and from as well. I bet you what a big one. So now, probably a print from under buffer. I bet trouble. This are not just a senior. It sounds a pilot. Only near my war, playing one. I bet you so. I have an people. So you say people who you say something happens, and people the aviation is very dangerous for us because weather not changing anyhow. We need to say now passing. So only when say for them, but only say before, only say quiet, only say I have for money feedback, I have for money extra back from or faster looking up from. So I money now not only access to it on the aircraft. The background or the experience. And then me, say can say you experience in the Bible in the northern. I decided to talk car 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, cars using me push to start party. So 10 years ago, cars was a reverse party, and then when we face school, I was at red line. Just also the green line, etc. But this also revenue was a commercial.
Yeah.
It is how more in the equipment and avionics maybe I bet share say a higher people, a higher quiet, and for money to help back, for money to save back, for the sake, no need.
Okay.
The experience me, I also what in the Bible and all that.
And so I can comfortably say that you fly a whole Ghana Air Force helicopter, a analog, and you're digital like that.
And you're more than no. For instance, who's the Captain for the Black and once or number one, or need be a chair said, how what that name here? One more card was the name between a beanie. After or number there's no monitoring, so you will be my camp and monitoring device or monitor flight with a flight in the now talk you work with them, no base casa. But there was no that so. After so on ground, say between Accra and Boasi, you need navigational aids, ACC form. Say a beanie helicopter in Ukraine, or bet me in one two at Church, a coin ACC form, so not channel crap to be your. Such a American was in civil aviation, they will be all Ghana. So far, this is one under business, never go to palace, no rest is under business.
Yeah.
Now, call under event center, I'll show you most of the ground can slow. Aircraft in the land, those are more fast.
Aye.
Omi autopilot I bet chasing, I bet Pekibo signals, there's not basic.
Okay.
Autopilot functions will be in helicopter.
Okay.
It's a concept of some more in your manner to send the auto car, fully be watching. Who the end there, a beam, who they are not 10 years ago. China for the more 10 years ago, signing on the beam. It's not some modern equipment, but one, Massanin, I will meet this maybe.
Okay. All right. So now, yeah, machine and casa, so who come on and now this is here. And so they are telling us history about aircraft now, Ghana Air Force, and telling us helicopter can want me a Ghana Air Force in May 2015 and flight in Ankasa and I say helicopter in Ankasa manufacture 2012. And a 10-year service threshold, on May 18, 2025. Now, Doug, let me ask. And you may be saying, what do you advise? What would you see? Do we still want to go for 10-year? Helicopter. Edin 10-year a year now. I mean, why do we want to? Have your friend is saying, helicopter that has done his 10-year service.
China demand or cultural Sadia 10 years in service. I believe my final 10 years in Sonia. Either son manufacturing Becassa, Obey and Snamam, and I'm a parking cover. And now only manufacturing Casa who extended the shell life by 90 days. One after manufacturer, so 10 years in the car soon, and get some train. And so the over service for 10 years, for 90 days, maybe use 90 days in count. Anka obviously muna kebeso yet the say anka water aircraft the manufacturer na catcho time do service na fakọ time do say all ground na ground time do say we mass school for the year child started to oil wahi na your company be a helicopter service in Accra on flying water credit time so in PH Central Aviation time so nobody commission aircraft helicopter on the matter for what the commission was the time with the matter from Finland on Tuesday or the passengers in Samarco. It is our time soon, so mine gets a pesica, as a baby to win and as a better for a but a share break account. 90 days we need to use energy, see our ground nose, a local mine, so a better food, San Ocaze, manufacturing in Yaman, manufacturing come out 10 years.
Doctor, say Timamini share or sign 8 year. Na oka say oh yes say a helicopter na kra no I spa odika.
So odika. Manufacturing about 10 years. Bracing and our cause manufacture with me service, with me a service ya man for next 90 days and manufacturing is okay. No more additional 90 days now. but manufacturer na original no catch on na catch and of course okay person use 90 days become which one spare parts na dey meet me use 90 days become one and also I meet me I am na wo ko use tina ko ba odika.
Doc, what would you advise as moving forward? I mean, machines of this nature, yanko for the end.
Niatini say nyabema. Ofi nipa native aircraft ni mo senior modern ones. Nipa eti yes na president plan go into what aircraft na denebo. Aircraft are all these safety way na kan was avionics any man. Anu na president wetin makwana. Yeah, top papa prep. Na sene pa go in line. Top papa prep. Ah sani mani na wom ebeti wo akwaba. Anu so nche se top papa prep one. Helicopter need to be taken. Kobe Bryant yet TV. Access band MDZ yet TV. Whether nya manko. Whether no is a very big issue for helicopters. Kobe Bryant is also a boy your country. Access band your go Super Bowl. I'm gonna escape for. Helicopter papa bi no muti. Sani mani bi wo. And so whether nya enti ambassa. Na sani mani wo mu a kaye kofu obehu se o menam terrain we say netie. Menam ha say netie. Na so asa ya fa opafo so nkodo ye fu mai second ede man anu ekum anu anu opafo anu do be difu je to modern ones almost umbesua afly ni ya mai na o hwe ni pe wu mu nyanka president kan wasan ka sama.
Doc, me share a machine bill. One of the points of raising here, a very concern that we really have to look at. Now, say the helicopter, however, lacked some avionic safety enhancement. Now, say akoto a helicopter ama yen Ghana Air Force. Na ye de fa a 82, na ye fly back to back. Edi over 10 years. Na ye sign catcher ye say a lake a certain avionic safeties. Before no so no. So omoka se avionic safety ya. Ghana ni no tie no the ordinary Ghanaian avionic safety no assess you saying first off now for remember the other one
me actually me from everyday life upi Toyota latest ones ya be this year plan at all so upi no one say o bank ka be e did ma be just say o bank ka be go twike
no correct
o bar amount lines red lines just a video be green line pack we no me boa
no correct
e go ka uja o ki shemu a uja o ki shemu na o si a be did am uja o ki shemu ifin o to the 10 years ago na ma wala some features na wunya sana opache nti avionic safety no so aircraft no one so to come for South Africa Kenya ni adia omo no your autopilot on route the pilot ni international ni 8 hours 6 hours and go UK edu baby a na we dan wa hwe we dan bia o mi autopilot signals na kan once and one air fly plane edu so be land they will take you over in fact it can even land itself the new ones we have nti sani o na ye kan once to say autopilot dey be flight nam kwan no so no avionic safety na making flight nam kwan no so no say be a obi on ground any flight we communicate direct we track a flight name to be after so say baby onam no so to kan go South Africa Kenya Dubai ni adia o passenger ka no tipli ma me dem pe map pa o mi map no so no so hu bia onam na o che so high crew high issue high people who people na is indicated the terrain pilot we they didn't have the benefits of say screen war who say oh people can see woman in who say high quiet how da na nye ni na na bi nti between Accra and Obuas Accra and Obuas so in between no need near church and kwan say whether any it's now o kind first two slides no ka say e ya no akoso no abafo or the visual flight rules so who nani it's nani na dey hwe eko nti sa avionic safety o kan wa say na a cheche kwan be man akọ a ombre pie ni autopilot who sa situation obstacles here a consider who betimi mia na no aircraft na bo di city man na so bi ni afei so important ho send your hot here ni be bianco betimi esi ade na no and so who bisa and only modern safety avionics now can once
So clearly, we better say in Ghana Air Force and I say hano analog than ye di but say critical thinkers and then logic for beka bibia say this looks very contradictory. Now you're saying that the aircraft was serviceable and airworthy. Then at the same time you tell us it lacked key safety equipment. Key, that is the key word there. It is a lackista key safety equipment now. How does it become serviceable and airworthy?
Okay, naturally, before a helicopter navigating, engineers on ground by helicopter. Aka say a yes or two obey. We are pilot why on special decided say helicopter me two and me two. Okay, airworthy. Now Patrick said, "Ya hesan ni say helicopter a bit me is airworthy, a bit me anante." Now some say a bit me two anante. Conditions be a bit me two anante. Say we mu da ho e we ebo helicopter betimi akobo asiaba or how be an come now so all can key safety equipment just said the more obstacles are consider who will be shared whether name on a people from my train left and right nema who an betimi aboa on what you decide consider no small maybe tell where they say ya hwe machine obetimi tu now so onam kwan so no nema ho bi asocia consider sonko bi a obetimi di so na nim yan fan for instance ebia ye na ekokumase wo twi Land Rover mo chia wo bi airbag wo enam kumase kwan so betimi twi 4 blocks ekokumase airbag ni enso se wo no wo safety equipment bi accident is here ababo ho ban na so me dia no airbag ni so betimi fa kumase kwan so mani san o party etimi ko kwan so na so se bibi akwasiye bi si a na ebe bo ho ban no na no chese anu de nani
and the dog all can check to say yeah I mean oba eye kwan so a ye trotro ye tenemu eye obi beka wakoji roadway di there what tell say friend say DVLA and onam and so safety na wo eye trotro nimu no any taxi nimu no enye safe that's what you are trying to say.
Who said, Oko Kaneshi Bar, Kaneshi Bar, no. Sir, road worthy for moon.
I'm making.
I send them two. I send them two of them. Son of Patches. Road worthy. It's me call. Can't it move, right? It's me call, and says, I do cost a Kaneshi. Now, so say, for Fiasia, the new my Bobo Mohammed home by and everything up what driver and media questions one. And occasionally. And no modern aviation avionics now can answer.
But look, any who am on me to the extent that even our defense minister was in the same helicopter. Well, we know say yes, it is airworthy, a bit near to ta. But which one do we want to value? Is it the ta and answer the safety in it? Because if Okache say a lucky key safety equipment be to say terrain awareness and warning systems, advanced navigation with terrain mappings, automatic flight control system, the obosui, and after so Okachem said these safety equipment nano could have enhanced situational awareness. Then still, I come back to this. Then we shouldn't be flying analog, I should say, if the right word it is, analog aircrafts or helicopters.
Helicopter, I stand to be corrected, but I'm saying China for the chair. You didn't see a good I'm the chair. I know my whole instructions now, so 10 years later, and say, you didn't see a good toy. Because he had top modern ones, I am got a beer, modern waiting you. Surprisingly, in your account, 177 Cobus Sunny now, Air Force, none with me. Automanabo, I'm a Kaiser, and the base no can once. So, machines in there, as defense minister. Or better budget, they are top for from or baby to do. Then in Israel, who back up, and no car say, well, who's our problem? Or be able to buy now, what for me. Until he noticed, me sure say, oh, who's sunny money now, yes, Cobus sunny now, Monkakanda. Until no question is a sea to Air Force. Civil aviation, they are fine. They have, we have all the tools, Tamale, Kumasi, Takwari. All the navigational things are there. They communicate with the control type, but it's not directed. Accra FIR, Accra Flight Information Region. First, can you create to be now? So and they say a chain east and west. From Ghana, we have one of the best when it comes to air navigation services. We are one of the best that you can rely on, civilian wise. But military na your money or military base. Rooms in the way. I know you can't say Nema who are civilians one. Try something maybe. Flight tracking now can't once a year. Ultimate track a helicopter, which is what we for because of the BS or and the civilian plane the tour, Africa were the tour, civil aviation may be a company, be to Obachosia, Obit Nakasa directly. But no one will be sad. The military is here too near bomb in that regard.
Doc, my call a year environment, so I mean, per their findings, declared they've told us the helicopter was airworthy but lacked additional safety enhancement and I can be to me aboa ama omatumi etuni pepepe weather. But environment, or say adverse weather, limited visibility, rising terrain, and no ground-based navigational aid and route. Now, my issue has to do with a ground-based navigational aid and route. As such as saying.
First, now why airport. Now you domestic airlines need to go there because let's say we have navigational equipment on ground. Yes, those machines and a better shop and with your prayer power navigational aid will be directing me to see safely. I bet church and Obama could do. Kumasi should be all. Sunyani a new who airport Nina will be. And what I said. If you are clear call was in the Quano Sumo, a nippy wall, baby in between ABC cables, ABC Takra, the ABC obeying with their accident this year. I bet church or Pine Pussy or Boise. And no Cassini being it is a aircraft a being a bet or Pine. None can do a form one. The pilot me crew, betting in the off from Eddie Gitan, who's a mouse signal, to a mobile phone, empty and master, baby a mouse signals. Master will have signal or patches and that's animal in CC form. A be install in between crew bagasa made the whole two navigational ways. So, no matter me, I direct I could see the America, even when I don't see in front of me. Crew soon means say, we probably many because we need to be a gentleman. The navigational aid is not on one side, and I can't average the assets a BC or a new average or and our bar Adenta. Rowie Junction atomic or coincide additional of a BC or a cantonment with the AI one so a new it's spread all over. I have Bob in civilian flights normal landing. And then the account was said, military maybe needs our coins. And the papa said, going forward, maybe it's some military attack on you. You're installing people. We monitor some of these flights at their 80 because only Pia as a or the experience near the new airport. But Sunday morning now a bit near one. Say be helicopter new can if you from one. Go bit me for those coordinates like a character or could be the
okay, Medasepa and I face so. Or share a recommendations some of the buyer the baby VCC recommendations some of the buyer now like Riley said they are requesting say and can be here say better a modernized a fleet ama a Ghana Air Force now face you be acquire a modern aircraft with a Moniama TAWS GPWS and modern navigation systems in then we should invest in flight simulators and for recurrent training and so we should contract certified aviation weather provider and all that. Now clearly what all the things on here for recommendation or for instance saying that we should contract certified aviation weather provider. Is it the fact that all the your friend is saying Ghana Air Force in India Kenya we don't have a certified aviation weather provider na yenibi
yeah tene say civil aviation civil aviation Ghana civil aviation military we need to find a way military to can also leverage civil aviation will be and this I just want to when it comes to civilian, say plane bet ya talk that be, say plane about only weather that be. Also to can have a look or catch your weather and go back say we move weather see. Even before you land in Accra. The civil aviation in a bit more. Now military side no kasa omuni we are on 2 years. Now military no air navigation na go for na church on kwan. Anya civil aviation kese ya mo otokai da bi na nya no. Nti military no so hia obetumi bisa civil aviation no ama na say so no anya na die. Civil aviation there obakaya as in time pass Ghana Meteorological Agency they don't cause how much musika. They provide weather information to civil aviation. Send them the mom and civil aviation from Kawa. But military there, we need send your candidates so no one need. It's either they have to rely on civil aviation then or the mom and I said going forward no more contract your money no more weather no from maybe Accra or do Cape Coast Senate, Uniba Senate, Takrady Senate, Asan or Boasekrana. Some contract be no civil aviation they are fine. And they be all. Now military no more need be. It's not a recommendation back when I say Omonian. Now back from a person that can was a simulator. Simulator. Flight simulator. Another boarding. But unya a bois. Nimaya simulators nibi. Kenya, Dubai, Lufthansa aviation where I trained with them. And the thing said, simulator what said Z-9. On Ben says Z-9. Pepe, the deal won't be out. Now if you really a church or idea, Ushia, or Ben to say, oh, people, oh, quiet. So I didn't him, or Ben is saying, Obama name him, sir. Pepe, Naka Senya, obeying this coincidence. It's him who now found it to Farad, before if money to sign a ball also. So simulator, and all the year practice. Say, it's here, saying a mayano. And I can say Air Force. As I told you more, no, the training. The helicopter be out, plane be out, a sea and simulators. Wow. Sinabea or the bear parties. Never finds a helicopter near a bathroom and a now numb the Nipa walk to say circular. Obey then simulator me is yes idea. Helicopter near bathroom, one of you for obey the day. Simulator no listen. Sinabea about your life now getting here. Helicopter near bathroom, one of people, the are from money bush upon obey the day. Una people may be a from Christian or Benedict, a honey is ya, Lucia, send you to play, but simulators about all those other ones, no be simulator, but send you, I didn't see a man then one. I don't know, just a beam more, say so to simulators more.
Dog, I was saying about the point. Now, the ordinary Ghanaian want to find out. Make boss so say you need certified aviation weather provider no. What's the difference between Meteo Fono and aviation phone? Because in time I didn't quite see, the press release that we got from a military phone was that a helicopter was off the radar. Which radar? What were they looking at? Was it from aviation? And I said, and in any case, time and that captain said, what no even from the first initial report, and then that made him to wait for an hour, Now, also what done on your information if is it from aviation or from Meteo?
And only as will be some. Also, off radar, military, air navigation service providers, one and more diety at Chechapan, while the walkie-talkie on board and normally Casauda. But normally tracker, send you in some of the instances. I bet tracker flights, no one is a grammar tracker throughout. But we don't call a flight control room or Ghana civil aviation says here. Plane BR fly over Ghana. They can track me and tell you, say, baby, I want to perform. I am going to share for left, for right, civil aviation. Now, so military, you know, tracker, and I say, weather name. Ghana makes in a amount of weather data and answer now, and I said, oh, Fred, or Boasi Bizarre, or go for military for. Oh, Fred. Kumasi bisa military follow our weather now. I don't know now to the season as I'm making a gas on my corner. And I'll crack our damage and out the coy. And you are some as bisa because so catch him no money aviation weather provider. Now one cast information if you done and makes ya. Just say on the motor or call for me to phone a walk or boss no bisa more than once a man. And I say, on the motor or commercials from bisa more than an because the report James Ebi. It's one honor information as an decided say, this is a human I can't go. Yes, baby as a change.
Okay, so I mean, share their kind of recommendations now. What it tells us is even flight data monitoring and route tracking system. I can one same year. Ground support equipment I can one same year. Ni na no just say you need be our hanoma a bit me aboa ama your flight to in terms of from Ghana Air Force, helicopter and all that. We need some of these things to really position well on that score. And do you believe, sir, Sanema Wing Nano sanctions should be given to somebody? I mean, somebody should be responsible.
Yes, sir. Successive governments over the years, and then to Air Force. The point is, Sanema Wing Nano, yes, sir, December pandemic, I say, since our Bible will take over that. Every kind of successive government. In true by now, so we almost simulate as a lot of Yamo. Navigational equipment being when to be sure. Modern navigation service, war military base, maybe maybe for near more tools. Sending several aviation war more than one CB, maybe more a bit more. It's over the years, Nunanka, Yanye, Nabi see. It's near chance as I said, you were my. I see a pesca near the assignment because near chance Sunny May one. Na some 2 years, and Kofu force but to share and so, and now you pursue a rescue a junior baby. You better have a point. It's a yes, and okay, a Juma 2 years or 2 years on the 6th, Juma on the 2nd and 3rd. It be a medical evacuation, medic park. It will be Yarda baby, and Uncle Fan of Bar, baby Binyarsa. Will be Yarda, Bossy to be get the crash, no a quack of Fanaba. Men I have the privilege of Kofiada, let's go get at Tias. You took or get the crashes to be a land with the crash. You took on a rumor to be a land helicopter, mutual helicopters yet. It's in here can say because of Mojuma, I thought maybe a plane into me corner. Only a small Kofa with Bravia accident BSC, in Coco, a bomb, Coco Siwana Fanny Panabra, Nian War, Accra, BSC or to be minister, Nicofanabra. Sunny money now, only a boy meeting yes, man. This year more cardia meeting yes, man. Yeah, as a people down about high. Son of your medical evacuation, 2nd and 3rd, as an only 2 and 6 as a miss. People find about small number of Major Sanko. It is successive government in a Namaka, my young papa, warm, with 2 rooms, Senator Beating and say 20 now.
Dog, Major Mawako, but experts of your nature have proposed, say, and Kebeya, things of this nature, we should throw away politics from it. Where we hear subsequent government to say, ABM is spending so much on the military to get equipment, to equip them, to upgrade them, to make them digitalized and all that. And then we play politics with this. Say, what do you still believe that we should be doing? Do we still see politics being played with this thing? And now to say because indeed, even the safety of our president, we've played politics with this for a very long time as to whether we should get the presidential jets. The president is using a commercial flight, and then we are happy to issue press releases to say president is using commercial flight, and he's in that quote to say oh yeah dear and all that. What would you say? As an expert, you are not in politics, so these are critical matters for the country.
See, truly, military here, and on between your boy and mobile about my Air Force will be at washing and so we answer defend your minor. Plain no do. And only answer, it's where it's really here, no bits me up, more repair all these instances. You know, Ghana has been described as a good boy and a bad neighborhood. West Africa, Kumsi left and right center. We jihadists do. Ghana gave you 2 years. I don't chase a hokoda. wow, maybe see a boy in mobile meeting card. Let us see. See, we truly need to need modern planes in helicopters. President took and said, "No, I'm going to go about safe because they're not better because they're modern planes, highly trained pilots, and not better. All the chase gamma commercial plane officer. Military don't better. And a president no more behind. And see, we are proper ones, man, military, no, normal team, about president no buy. I didn't know cover safely. A year. Not me because the Babuja will be fair mechanics and go high. And the enchata and I go high civilian plane a president to choir. Let's see me upon Nakawamba by Chonka. No president air share third party himself. And ye is a indeed. You to helicopters, modern ones. Planes are papa. Long range, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, everything aqua. And no bois, or two choir, Sunday main. It's me to show, no money in our house. After you want to be, we are such other ones on the after you also use it. He said, "Your toss any money, we are maintenance coach, ya, I can't once a day here. Your toss any money, you know, you make sure, say, line maintenance, let's say, we are link bar, shocks, and a big pass, I say, also, and C checks, no, okay, service engine. I'm making sure that they are okay, or only a check. It is any market getting in and line maintenance, normal one, check, you know. And in major ones, time should be high and won't go here. Ninja is here to shut up. Time should be high for you. The more our service aircraft in Adam, open on the lifespan of it, which makes us see. I'm never born.
Dog, you better say any Emra Wenyama Ghana 4 and Kessben 92.9 then our Facebook Kessben TV and then on Go TV channel 121 DSTV channel 364. Yeah, that's it. Say your friend wotumi ama timemufo atiase ye na wama yesa chechemu ni na mrepemu no ye besan aba onchen bio bibie ni a ne no aba bedi nkomo. Yeah, that's it pa. All right, enti yane Dr. Dominic Ando and no edi nkomo no oye aviation expert ni di nkomo no 60 minutes